Good afternoon, this is Nick Anthony, and coming up in just a moment, Going Green number 88, we'll be talking about defending planet Earth, and indeed how we all can do our bit to support our planet. I'll be looking at one of the oldest trees on the planet, if not the oldest tree on the planet, which was indeed planted in 1630 in America. Amazing. It was Arbor Day this week. And we'll read a little poem and we'll tell you a little bit about that tree. Also, Sunday, tomorrow, there will be the start of the annual dolphin hunting season in Taiji. It always brings a knot to my stomach and a tear to my eye when this begins. And this year, I'm sure will be no different. Rico Barry has just arrived in Japan yesterday, and with a number of other volunteers, will be monitoring the Japanese activities as they slaughter dolphins and capture for dolphin shows around the world. We talk about polystyrene in San Jose in California. It's the first phase out of expanded polystyrene, which is good news. There's also a delayed decision on the fate of the proposed Keystone XL pipeline, actually going to be delayed until now 2014, early 2014. We talk about in the Caribbean a new energy efficiency program across all of the Caribbean islands of Antigua, Barbuda, Grenada, San Lucia, and Trinidad and Tobago. Tesla Motors and cars are a bit of a focus today. We're looking at Tesla Motors getting very successful with 13% of Californian luxury car sales. We'll be talking about hybrid four-wheel drives. And also in Thailand this week, the government announced the third eco-car project. And we'll be looking at what that means for Thailand and indeed also what it means for Phuket with more cars on our road. We do look locally at news, beach cleaning, green clubs, and we're talking about a 20th to 22nd of September island-wide cleanup that will be supported by the governor, local government, and by all of the green clubs. Stay tuned. This is Nick Anthony, Going Green number 88, coming up shortly. And a very good afternoon, Phuket. This is Nick Anthony. Welcome to Going Green show number 88, coming to you live from Phuket 89.5 here in Phuket town on the lovely island of Phuket. We're nestled on the Andaman Sea, and indeed we are a pearl on the edge of the Indian Ocean. Everything we do here on our island has an impact. Having such a wide, expansive ocean around us, if we litter, if we pollute, if we drop garbage into the sea, if we put bad things into the air, it has a massive impact on our small area. And we've been doing a great deal recently to clean up Phuket, to clean up our roadside, clean up our beaches, change some of the habits of what have been a polluting public, and indeed look towards a sustainable future. It's necessary because indeed there are 7 direct drivers of extinction, and all are the result of human behavior. First is habitat loss through deforestation. Again in Kamala this week, a massive section of the forest on the north end was stripped of its trees in preparation for yet another development. Another reason for extinction is a takeover by invasive species, and that is the introduction of different animals and different germs and different bugs that kill local things and change the nature of the environment. The third is air, sea, and land pollution, something we've been trying very hard to combat. The fourth is climate change, a much bigger picture, but indeed climate change now is part of everybody's thinking and should be a part of everybody's daily thought process. Everything has an equal and opposite reaction. In fact, with CO2, it's amplified, so we all need to be aware of climate change and bring it into a more general discussion. And the last 3 are, of course, over-exploitation of resources, and above all, perhaps the factor that magnify all of the others: human overpopulation and consumerization. Population we actually can control and we can somewhat diminish, and consumerization, of course, we can all change our habits. 4,500 years or so ago, a small planet was formed. Indeed, it's Earth, as we know it today. Circling a yellow star and embedded on one of the spiral arms of the Milky Way, itself part of the Virgo supercluster, one of the millions of similarly vast entities dotted throughout the sky. A still largely undefined and unexplored place called space. Some 4,000 million years later, the Phanerozoic period of life started, and the birth of mammals and flowering plants, as evidenced by fossils, began. It was only 65 million years ago that the formation of the Himalayas, the opening of the North Atlantic, and life's miraculous biodiversity blossomed. After all of these years, the planet, as we know it, only deals with the Holocene epoch, which started about 10,000 BC, or only the last 12,000 years. This is known as the start of the Bronze Age and the advance of man. Human life, on a timescale, is 3 seconds in 24 hours. It's a brief blip that has achieved so much, but respected so little. This piece that I'm reading to you this morning is entitled Defending Planet Earth. And indeed, we all need to step up more and be proactive, be interested, be excited, and join this journey of sustainability and make our own changes so that we can support planet Earth. Well, since the year 2000, it is now widely recognized that we've entered a new period of history, another age, a period of planetary change brought about by dams, mines, pollution, waste, species extinction, weather volatility, polar melts, and extreme heat. A new era known as the Anthropocene, or the Age of Man. This is about defending planet Earth. Stay tuned. Nick Anthony, Going Green, show number 88. And welcome back to Going Green, show number 88. Nick Anthony here with you for the afternoon. We're talking about defending planet Earth. From the most remote mountaintops to forests, grasslands and deserts, from river headwaters to the deepest seas, reports from around the globe tell the same story. Wild places that have been stable for millions of years are in turmoil. Weather patterns and water sources are being disrupted. Plant and animal species are vanishing faster than ever before. Our cities and farms, our parks, even our backyards are changing in ways we're only beginning to notice, but that are already affecting the health and well-being of our planet and us. Our planet's ecosystems today are already tattered remnants of their original beauty. During the 4 billion years that life has been evolving on Earth, there have been 5 distinct periods when as much as 90% of the species alive at the time suddenly disappear from the fossil record. The Permian-Triassic mass extinction was the largest in our planet's history. Enormous disruptions in our planet's carbon cycle led to climate change, ocean acidification, and ocean anoxia, with about 90% of all species dying off. This era was known as a coal gap, as even the forests disappeared. The most recent of these events ended the reign of the dinosaurs 65 million years ago. Paleontologists believed that each of these earlier mass extinctions was triggered by some extraordinary event, such as an asteroid impact or a period of unusual volcanic activity. Each of these extinction spasms was actually a slow decline, taking place over many centuries. Yet these periods were brief compared to the many millions of years the Earth took to recover its diversity after each mass extinction had finally run its course. Today, scientists believe that we are entering the 6th mass extinction. But unlike the previous 5, this one will not take centuries to unfold. In fact, it will take place in our lifetimes. As scientists begin to realize the severity of the crisis and new worldwide assessments are made, the news is difficult to believe. At least half of all plant and animal species are likely to disappear in the wild within the next 30 to 40 years. including many of the most familiar and beloved large mammals: elephants, polar bears, chimpanzees, gorillas, and all of the great apes, all of the big cats, and many, many others. Bird species are similarly imperiled. Songbird populations have already declined 50% in the last 40 years. 1 out of every 8 species of plant life worldwide, and almost 1/3 of the plant species within the US already face extinction. Populations of large ocean fish have declined by 90% since the 1950s. All around the world, birds, reptiles, mammals, amphibians, fish, and invertebrates, as well as trees, flowering plants, and other flora, are all in steep decline. The rate of extinction today could be as much as 10,000 times greater than the expected natural or background extinction rate. Scientists estimate that tens of thousands of species are vanishing every year, including many that we've simply not even discovered or named. Stay tuned, this is Nick Anthony. We're on Going Green, show number 88, and I'm talking about defending planet Earth. Welcome back to Going Green, show number 88. Hope you're having a fantastic afternoon. We're talking about defending planet Earth, and I've just been saying that bird species, as an example, have declined by 50% in the last 40 years. 1 out of every 8 species of plant life, and almost 1/3 of the plant species within the United States already face extinction. Large ocean fish have declined in population by 90% since the 1950s, so we have already a mass extinction on our hands. We depend on many species directly for our basic human needs, such as food, clothing, fuel, shelter, and medicine. But the complex network of all species is necessary to support those species that we depend on directly. Ecosystems are intricately interdependent. Species depend on each other for survival in complex and subtle ways that science is only beginning to understand. Biologically diverse ecosystems provide indispensable ecosystem services that we often take for granted, including purification of the air and water, climate regulation, nutrient cycling in the soil, disease control, pollination, seed dispersal, biological pest control, prevention of erosion, to name just a few. We cannot live without these essential services that healthy ecosystems provide. When any species within an ecosystem becomes extinct, species that depend on that species are threatened, and then similarly other species that depend on those species become threatened, and so on. It's a cascade or ripple effect that runs through the whole system. The loss of any species within the ecosystem can potentially affect the ability of other species to thrive or even survive. And what's more, a species does not need to become totally extinct in order to have this effect. A severe decline in a species population can be nearly as detrimental to the ecosystem as extinction and can weaken the entire ecosystem. As stresses due to species loss increase, eventually the ecosystem will reach a breaking point, after which total catastrophic collapse is rapid and irreversible. Defending planet Earth. We all must do our bit. This is Nick Anthony. Stay tuned. Going Green, show number 88. And welcome back. Nick Anthony here on Going Green, show number 88. We've just been talking about defending planet Earth and indeed the potential extinction of many species here on Earth. I'm going to take you back now to what is perhaps one of our oldest trees in the world, and just to give you an idea on how short everything you see around us indeed has been around. When the first European settlers stepped on Plymouth Rock in the US in 1620, the landscape they encountered must have felt like the epitome of wilderness. In time, of course, cottages and farmhouses, roads and footpaths would sprout up, even there as civilization took root. But little could they have guessed, from those fragile early shoots, that the whole wild continent would be tamed in just a few short centuries. It may be hard to believe, however, but one of America's earliest settlers is still alive today, and still bearing fruit after 383 years. Among the first wave of immigrants to the New World was an English Puritan named John Endicott, who in 1629 arrived to serve as the first governor of the Massachusetts Bay Colony. Charged with the task of establishing a welcoming setting for new arrivals upon the untamed land, the Pilgrim leader set about making the area around modern-day Salem as homey as possible. In approximately 1630, as his children watched on, Endicott planted one of the first fruit trees to be cultivated in America, a pear sapling imported from across the Atlantic. He is said to have declared at the time, "I hope the tree will love the soil of the Old World, and no doubt, when we have gone, the tree will still be alive." Well, the tree did outlive all witnesses to its planting, as well as generations and the generations that followed. By 1763, colonists noted that the tree, dubbed the Endicott pear tree, was already very old and showing signs of decay, but yet it persisted and continued to bear fruit. In 1809, the tree had such notoriety that even President John Adams is said to have received a special delivery of its pears. Although holding fast through 3 strong hurricanes which battered the region in the first half of the 19th century, the tree became a cherished fixture. A fence was even put up to protect it. As early as 1852, folks were proclaiming Endicott's pear tree as probably the oldest cultivated fruit-bearing tree in New England. For Arbor Day in 1890, poet Lucy Larcom composed about the old tree so long rooted in American history. Such a wonder you may see for the patriarchal tree, blossoms still the living thought of good Governor Endicott. Fruit again this year to bear, honor to that brave old pear. Through the 20th century, Endicott's pear tree endured as the U.S., the nation it predates by 156 years, continued to grow up around it. Through 7 more strong hurricanes and even a vandal attack in the 1960s, the tree never stopped bearing fruit. Although its pears have been described as medium in size, unattractive, and coarse textured, sounds like a few people I know, the tree's shortcomings have been made up for it in its resilience, a legacy that will carry on even after the sands of time eventually wither its branches. The USDA's National Clonal Repository, a seed bank, successfully last year produced a clone of the Endicott's pear tree. There are few surviving remnants of those earliest days in American history, when European settlers arrived to the wild lands of the New World. But as their centuries-old headstones have weathered and crumbled with time, and their names and stories have become lost to the ages, it's reassuring to know that history is rooted by more than human memory and fading ink, and that a living monument has been fruitful through it all. That's an article that came out of treehugger.com. This is Nick Anthony. You're listening to Going Green, show number 88. Welcome back to the Going Green Show. Nick Anthony here, and I have some sad news for you. Tomorrow, September the 1st, actually marks the beginning of another bloody dolphin hunting season in Taiji in the south of Japan. I've been following it for a number of years, and it's one of the saddest times, I say, of the year for me, because I wake up in the morning, I turn on my computer, I go to Twitter, and I take a look at my news overnight, and invariably, the first news of the day coming out of Japan, which is a few hours earlier than us, is dolphin hunting boats going out to sea, chasing with a number of fishing boats pods of the most beautiful wild dolphins into a tiny little cove down there in the southern port of Taiji. There they had herded under tarpaulins, and they're bludgeoned to death with knives and harpoons the best of them, for which they deem the best of them, are then stolen from their mothers and stolen from their family members, put into tanks and sold to the highest bidder, whether they be in China or in Brazil or in India. It's a very sad time of the year, and indeed tomorrow does start the beginning of another bloody dolphin season. Rick O'Barry from the Cove Guardians arrived in Japan yesterday, along with a number of volunteer Cove monitors, and they'll be on the beach tomorrow in solidarity, calling for an end to the dolphin drive hunts and the dolphin slaughters. Also arriving yesterday was Matt Sorum of the rock group Guns N' Roses and the supergroup Kings of Chaos. Matt's a big supporter of Rick and the work in Japan to save dolphins, so it's going to be good for him to see things firsthand, and I hope he's able to bring up the level of awareness about what the Japanese are doing and indeed why it should be stopped. There are some special media events planned in Tokyo and Taiji and a few surprises, so stay tuned every week to the Going Green Show, and I'll be giving you updates on the dolphin deaths of the week and indeed the efforts of such brave people there in Japan to try and halt it. We did talk last week a little bit about this, how in fact the Dolphin Project and a number of other agencies around the world are calling for a stopping of the IOC's consideration of Japan to take on the Olympics because of this slaughter of dolphins. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit teary about this. It is a terrible thing to witness, and it's something that that should be stopped. This is Nick Anthony on the Going Green Show. Welcome back to the Going Green Show, show number 88. Nick Anthony here. Let's run through the balance of the international news, of which we have a little bit. Firstly, in San Jose in California, looks like we've got a potential phase-out of polystyrene foam foodware, which is fantastic. Recent litter analysis there in San Jose, foam comprised actually 8% of all litter found in San Jose's storm drain system. And San Jose is committed to reducing its litter from the storm sewer system by 40% in 2014, 70% by 2017, and eradicate litter in the storm sewer system by 2022. Indeed, here on Phuket, foam is a continuing problem, and we've been working with both 7-Eleven and Tesco to ban the sale of polystyrene and working with hotels and restaurateurs to reduce its use. Over the week, there was an announcement on the fate of the proposed Keystone XL pipeline. It's now going to be delayed until after the release of an Inspector General investigation into conflict of interest complaints, a process that will take at least until early 2014. The State Department did not directly respond to the Huffington Post's request for comment about whether and for how long the IG report may delay a final decision. The official, who would only comment on background, said that the IG's review will provide independent and impartial assessment on the Keystone XL review process. The department is cooperating fully, the official said, and is committed to a rigorous, transparent, and efficient federal review of the Keystone XL application. That's out of the Huffington Post. In the Caribbean, there is a new multi-million-dollar energy saving program that's just starting. That will include building modifications such as replacing windows and doors, installation of solar water heaters and other retrofitting activities, and generally a massive awareness campaign that's taking place across all of the Caribbean. It's the sort of program that's needed here on Phuket. We currently produce about 250 megawatts of power, or use 250 megawatts of power here on the island per day, and of that, around 20 to 30% could be reduced easily through basic efficiency. So turn off your vampire machines, turn off your plugs at night, use your aircon a little less if you can, and generally be more aware of your energy use. Let's take a look at motor cars. Tesla's market cap this week exceeded $20 billion on optimism that indeed Elon Musk, the founder, can keep widening the appeal of electric-powered cars as the company sales increase. The Palo Alto-based company had its IPO in 2010 and indeed the shares have risen 5 times this year. The 10-year-old car maker, named for its inventor, Nikola Tesla, intends to deliver 21,000 of its flagship Model S electric sedans this year, and double that in 2014. It's really fantastic news. Well, Tesla's the Apple of automotive, and it's managed to cross the auto and technology fields to become this hot commodity, said Alan Baum, an independent auto analyst at Baum & Associates. In California, where the Model S ranks as the third best selling luxury sedan in the biggest U.S. market, it's a sign that indeed the take-up rate now is in fact much stronger than even last year. By sales and production volume, Tesla ranks amongst the smallest of international automakers. By market value, it ranks as high as 13th, which is quite amazing. GM, the biggest US automaker by sales, has a market cap of only half that of Tesla at $48 billion US. Ford, 64, is 65% of Tesla's market cap, and indeed Tesla is trading now at 260 times estimated 2013 earnings. Well, here in Thailand, there's been an announcement just on Thursday morning that the BOI has approved the criteria for the second phase of the eco-car project, requiring each car maker to invest at least 6.5 billion baht in making small, eco-car-friendly cars. Now, this is not currently an electric car initiative, which is a shame. That's exactly what we should be doing as we wean ourselves off coal, but I guess it's a step in the right direction. This new phase is in fact going to be a tougher emittance regulation than the last one. Previously, eco-cars, to qualify for these incentives, had to emit a maximum of 120 grams of carbon dioxide per kilometre. This new phase of the eco-car program is pulling that down to 100 grams of carbon dioxide per kilometre. Well, car makers are very wary of an oversupply in the Thai market as the government commits to this. There's a minimum capacity for approved models at 100,000 vehicles per year within 5 years of production. We would personally much prefer to see a massive electric car market, but currently that's not in the offering. And lastly, on green news in Bangkok, we have some good news with a bicycle sharing program. Amsterdam first started in the 1960s, Copenhagen followed decades later, and indeed then we had Paris, London, Melbourne, cities in China, and even New York got its own version in place earlier this year. Now it's Bangkok's turn for a full-scale bike share system. By the end of this week, the Pun Pun Bike Share project will see the completion of 50 stations set up in business districts like Payatai, Ratchadamri, Plunchit, Silom, and Seton. Out of the Bangkok Post, and good news for Bangkok. Well done. Stay tuned. Nick Anthony here on Going Green Show number 88. Welcome back to the Going Green Show number 88. We've been talking about some good green news, positive green news there, with a bike program, a shared bike program starting in Bangkok. And indeed, even here on Phuket Green Island, as we now call it, our goals are for a sustainable, low-carbon island. And our monsoon period is still pretty much in full force, with westerly storms bringing ocean trash to our beaches, and our island, despite looking much better, continues to be in a trash crisis with increasing waste volumes. We currently have about 750 tons of garbage per day. Only around 250 tons or maybe 300 is being incinerated, which of course is not ideal, with the balance currently going to landfill. The landfill here in Phuket town is just about full, and the next step for Phuket for waste management is unfortunately going to be shipping its landfill waste to Phang Nga province. The answer, of course, is curbside recycling, island-wide composting, which compost counts for about 30% of our total volumes, and much better awareness. We've been working with the government on a litter campaign, and on the 20th to the 22nd of September, there will be a massive island-wide cleanup campaign. It's a 3-day weekend. We're going to have more about that in the paper before then, as well as here on the radio. So do keep your eye on that, and pencil in a cleanup somewhere on the island. Get your friends, get your family, make an event out of it, and let's do something good for Phuket. In terms of water testing, a critical aspect of all of our local enjoyment, and that is enjoying our oceans as we build our towns bigger, as more condos come, as more hotels are built, there's more waste, and unfortunately, particularly at this time of the year when we have a lot of rain, it ends up overflowing and ends up in our oceans. Of course, swimming in polluted water is going to do nothing for our tourism, and indeed over the years there have been a number of problems, particularly in places like the north end of Kata Beach, south end of Patong, south end of Kamala Beach, south end of Bangtao Beach, where dirty water has come out into these klongs, and we've seen people with rashes, we've seen raw pollution on the beaches, and something that does nothing for our tourism. Well, this last week we saw the governor in Patong with the Phuket Regional Environmental 5 Office, as well as the Phuket Marine Biological Centre, the PMBC, that did a demonstration in Patong Beach that did water quality testing, and indeed now that's taking place every 2 months at 23 places around the island. The PMBC takes water from each of these points to test in the laboratory, and the demonstration which they did in Patong was not exactly the full test, which have gone out for completion in the labs, and they're not quite back yet. However, it looks like the initial information on that Patong water has been positive, that it's not fecal matter in the water, that it is a algae bloom, which will of course come from pollution, and it's nice to see this now taking center stage and the government getting serious about cleaning up our waterways, in conjunction, I must say, with the green clubs that are springing up around the island and with the support of the local community. One of the big problems on water is also not just fecal matter and that type of pollution. However, it's also non-biodegradable chemicals. I've talked about this in the past, how something like Laguna Beach in California, if you, for example, wash your car and you use non-biodegradable chemicals that go straight into the drain and then go straight out through the stormwater drain into the ocean, you indeed can be fined and you can be jailed. Here on Phuket, we have to have much better awareness about our impacts. If we're on a hill, if we're in a local area like Kamala Beach or Patong Beach or Surin Beach, we're down on the flats, and indeed washing our cars with non-biodegradable chemicals, it goes straight into the drain, it goes straight out to sea, and of course has an impact not just on tourists but also on marine life. So there we are, 20th to 22nd September, big cleanup coming up, great news. Nick Anthony, stay tuned, Going Green, show number 88. I'll be back for a wrap in just a moment. Welcome back, Nick Anthony, Going Green, show number 88. And lastly, topic of conversation are the Seek Green Club programs, which have been dramatically popping up over the last 3 months. I've got good news for you now. You can go to Facebook and you can follow the Green Nayang Group, Naiton Green Club, Bangtao Green Club, Kamala Green Club, and the Katanoi Green Club, all on Facebook. Their vision is to have a full-time private sector program in every West and South Coast Phuket beach, working collaboration with the local government, NGOs, local people, and introduce local community environmental education that will support a clean and green Phuket Island. Following the successful Kamala Green Club pilot program, Seek, a local NGO, and you can check that out at myseek.org, is initiating these scheduled beach cleanups split into zones and coordinated by private businesses and hotels through the end of 2013 this year with long-term aims. The Green Clubs have an administrative coordinator. There is a committee in each local area which meets monthly and supports education, coordinates orbitor support as well, and generally introduces the concepts of reduce, reuse, and recycle. Additional projects, for example, in Bangtao and Kamala, is introducing green education in schools, the support of testing and monitoring of these waterways, setting up recycling stations, developing business goals for lower energy use, creating a local eco-map, developing signage for litter, and information handouts for tourists. Very good news. There's also beach waste separation, where a lot of the debris that's being collected including plastic bottles, aluminium cans, and glass beer bottles are being recycled. And fishing gear, floats, nets, ropes, string, bulbs, flip-flops, lighters, bottle caps, plastic toys, and all small brown Red Bull and energy drink bottles are recycled for an art project. So if you're out on the beaches and you find any of those items, keep them aside and let us know here in the studio, and we'll arrange for them to get collected. And we've got John Underwood at the Underwood Art Factory there on Bypass Road, who's just been given a big dump of things to do something creative with. If you haven't been to John's studio, do stop on Bypass Road as you're coming from Boat Lagoon towards Phuket 89.5 and the Tesco intersection. It's on the left-hand side. You wouldn't miss it. It's a big 3-story building, bamboo at the front. Just pop in there and check it out. They've got a restaurant which is open for lunch. They do some fantastic events on Friday nights and Saturday nights, and you can pop in and get a coffee or a drink anytime. Chat to John, and indeed if you have any waste, such as I just mentioned for an art project, you can drop it off directly to him there. This is Nick Anthony. I hope you're enjoying the Going Green show number 88. And that's all we have time for Going Green 88. Thanks for listening. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. And, of course, keep your eyes open. Be aware out there. Think about your actions. Refuse single-use plastic bags, straws, and polystyrene. Reduce your waste. Reduce energy use. And reuse what you can, including composting. And then recycle as much of what's left as is possible. Be responsible to Phuket and be responsible to our planet. It takes all of us to defend planet Earth. And lastly, find your voice. Get on Twitter, get on Facebook, join one of the green clubs, get out on the beaches and do your little bit to help beach trash and help the full-time beach cleaners where we have them in places like Kamala. Because our world is at a fork in the road. We're at a crossroads. And it's really for you to decide. The loss of the enormous contribution of fossil fuels means that the total amount of energy available to humanity by the end of the century may be less than 1/5 of the amount we use now, and less than 1/6 of the amount we will use at our energy peak a decade from now. The advance of science has enabled us to measure our impact upon the planet with increasing precision. So why are we ignoring all of the science? Will our intelligence, in the end, count for nothing? Are we destined, like the elephants, tigers, and rhinos, for extinction? Are we to become the ultimate victim of our own success? And if so, when the last human falls, centuries or millennia hence, will there be anyone there to hear it? Survival or extinction, seek for a better world. And please do go to myseek.org, take a look at all of the latest news around the island, and you can follow me on Twitter at Indigo Nick. Again, thanks for listening. Do stay tuned. We've got some great shows coming up over the weekend. Best of Breakfast now with Sam and Kirsty. We've got Dom Lau with the Asian Top 40 this evening. Tomorrow, a rerun of that show in the morning. In the afternoon, we have Nick Jackman coming through with our show. Jason Wilder in the afternoon with his brunch from 12. And then in the afternoon, we have a lazy afternoon show from 3 and a very chill music session taking you through till 7 p.m. So a great lineup of music this weekend. And we'll talk to you next Saturday. Stay safe out there on the roads and stay safe out there in the oceans. Slip, slop, slap. It's sunny out there. And don't get burned.